Most people are downloading local LLMs and giving them 4.6 Opus prompts and wondering why it's hallucinating like a 5-year-old wrote the prompt. If your local model feels stupid too, I promise you it's not the hardware, it's your cloud habits, and we're gonna fix that in this video. And just like you, I downloaded a local LLM and then it deleted 412 gigabytes of videos that I was working on for my other YouTube channel. And it said, don't worry, these are just personal media files. So I'm right here with you on this Go Local journey, a step ahead of you at max. Today is day 3 of going local now that Anthropic broke up with OpenClaw. My name is Sean rakidzich. I have ADHD and we're going to cover that in a second because I want to give you your first tip. One change to your local LLM that you will never use in a cloud model and it will fix your local LLM woes. This is something that I call prompt compression. Let's start this tip with a money-saving example. Let's say you use an expensive model like Sonnet 4.6, extremely expensive to read. If you wanted to save tokens by not having your bootstrap full of 4,000, 5,000 tokens of context, instead of explaining your model, you could say, thinks like Sherlock Holmes, avoids failures like Icarus, X, Y, and Z. And you could even shorten that even more, cognition, shadow, etc. I'm going to do a big video on this, by the way. This is one spectrum of prompt compression, all the way at the end where we use highly known, highly researched, highly talked about stories and mythology that will make Claude understand 700 words of context because you used a name, like Sherlock Holmes. What you're doing is you're hacking the fact that you're paying good money for a premier model and you're making it do all of the work. But the problem with this, when you run a free local model, you have finite resources, right? Some of my favorites are like GPT OSS 20B, super snappy fast. I like the V2 Quen that's being shared from Hugging Face. I like Gemma 4, but these models have 35 billion parameters max. They're not the big boys and you don't have superhuman processors on your computer. So you have to actually do the opposite. Instead of making your local model role play, you're a senior engineer, you're a marketing professional. Don't do that. Get into ChatGPT 5.4 Pro and say, I've got a local model that's not smart enough to know what I mean when I say that you're a senior engineer. Give me all of the parameters that I should tell a local model to know what you mean by senior engineer. And then it's going to print it all out and say, hey, I need you to compress this because it doesn't have that much memory. Bring that down into under 2,000 tokens. And you're going to find a balance between being explicit and massive, which all goes into your context history, which is actually okay. Give me 1 minute to explain that. Having all that context history, you can tone it down so you have more space for compute. And that way, in this more explicit environment, you're not making your Olama try to understand what you mean by be Sherlock Holmes, but don't be Ahab. That is really hard for a local model to do. And it gives you a couple problems. One, it will slow down your tokens per second because your reasoning model needs to unpack what you mean. And then second, you're going to get distortion out of it, where a premier model may really understand what you mean and kind of expand and do all this great stuff and build this huge multi-page workup on what your AI agent is supposed to be. Your local model is going to distort that into thinking you mean that we should role play, into thinking that you mean that we want to write about Ahab or write about Icarus. And so to play it safe and not delete 400 gigabytes of stuff like me, we need to be very real about what your bot can and cannot do. But now let's talk about why it's okay to do the bad thing locally. The habits that you develop with a frontier model like Sonnet 4.5 or 6, where you want your bootstrap to be smaller. You want your context payload to be smaller because you're paying for the token read, right? And you don't want to pay all that. So you try to find a way to lean out. It's better locally to give your local model 25,000 of tokens cached and almost no context history aside from that, and have it do its job with a very short memory, but a very solid prompt startup that it never loses. I'm being a little dramatic. Maybe 15,000, 17,000 tokens of this is who you are. Because when you load that, you don't pay for the load, it's local. And when it reads it every single time, you're not paying for it because it's local. So it's better for you to know what your agent is going to be reading and adhere to 17,000 tokens of construct as opposed to trying to get some savings with a cloud model like Anthropic. If we can boil this tip down into one thing, you're going to prompt compress the premium models to save some tokens, and you're going to do the opposite locally, and you will have 2 agents for this job. You will have one agent that's pre-designed to run local. And I think of them like an orchestrator because it can assign other agents to other tasks. So you can have one orchestrator that runs a lightweight model like I talked about, like the OSS 20B, and that one is the one that talks to you. And when it understands that something has to get done, it can spin up a local agent running Gemma or running the V2 Quen that's good for code or whatever. You can spin that up. But then when something's really heavy duty and it's too complex for your local agents to do, or you're running out of compute, you can then spawn another agent that has the proper prompt context to to blitz off onto the internet and pull something back from Anthropic. And then you can say cognition, Sherlock Holmes, Shadow, Ahab. And we will talk about prompting with mythology in a very near future video. You're going to love that. And that's why this channel is actually named Romancing Robots, because one of the things that I think I can uniquely give you is the fact that I'm a coach and a public speaker and a business owner for almost 20 years. I have to get things out of my employees by talking to them the right way. I have to motivate people to build businesses by coaching them the right way. And working with AI is exactly the same thing. It's just like managing an employee. It's just like being a coach or a public speaker. And if I can teach you to speak well and teach well to an AI, there's nothing that you cannot accomplish. So follow for more than just tips on going local. I'm going to teach you how to get the most out of your agents, because agents are large language models. Language is your code. You don't have to write Python or JavaScript, but you just have to speak so that way your robots can do it for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for our prompt compression video coming soon, and watch this video next. This was day 2. We go into some of the harder parts about using local models like finite memory and cold starts. You will not want to miss that video. Again, my friends, thank you, and I'll see you on the other side.